Whether created via Suitmation, stop motion, or modern CGI, odds are there's been at least one movie monster that's caught your imagination or even haunted your nightmares. I personally have many fond memories growing up watching the work of the late, great Ray Harryhausen, and of course the Kaiju monster films from Toho. But despite their cultural relevance, there are still many things that people might not know about the monsters up there on the big screen. So here are 5 movie monster secrets that you may not have known about. If you enjoy this video, be sure to hit the subscribe button and click the bell to be notified when we upload fresh content. Thanks to films such as Pacific Rim and Uprising, most people have at least heard the word kaiju. But what does it really mean? The textbook translation is simply a strange beast, but it has been largely used to refer to a specific genre of film that features giant monsters, usually ones that attack large cities or fight other monsters. Originating in Japan, the first truly kaiju film is largely considered to be the original Godzilla in 1954. And while it is most often considered a Japanese genre, many other countries have produced kaiju films, such as The Host from South Korea, and of course Cloverfield here in America. So calling the monsters in Pacific Rim kaiju is not just linguistically correct, but also a nice little nod to the films that inspired it. Now, the American version of Godzilla that was released in 1998 is, in a word, horrible. It was so bad, in fact, that Toho, the company that produces the mainline Godzilla films in Japan, decided to make fun of it a little bit in their own films. In Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All-Out Attack, there is a shot in the film where members of the Japanese military are seen discussing Godzilla. When someone brings up that a giant monster believed to be the mythical beast attacked New York City, the officers dismiss it, saying that it wasn't the king of the monsters. Fast forward to Godzilla Final Wars, which has a bit more of a direct attack on the film. In that movie, Godzilla winds up fighting a slew of famous and not so famous monsters, including the one from the 1998 Godzilla film, simply referred to here as Zilla. In one scene, Zilla teleports down to fight Godzilla, only to be defeated quickly. It is actually one of, if not the fastest fights between monsters in any Toho film, taking him out in only really 2 hits. So it kind of seems like Toho was not really a fan, rightly so. Now, one of the most classic means of bringing monsters to life within kaiju films is something called Suitmation, also known as the art of wearing a monster costume and acting against miniatures. It was extremely popular in the early days of kaiju films, being used in basically every Godzilla movie during the series' heyday. In fact, it is still commonly used in Japanese tokusatsu series, such as the popular Super Sentai series, which Power Rangers is an adaptation of. The suit that performers wear is often made out of latex and foam, and doesn't usually have that great a cooling, causing people wearing them to sweat profusely and even occasionally faint. When Haruo Nakajima wore the Godzilla suit, for instance, he would often dump 1 to 2 cups worth of sweat out of it at the end of shooting every day. And on top of that, shooting days were often made up of sessions lasting only 3 to 5 minutes at a time, just to avoid passing out. So basically, wearing a Suitmation costume is the equivalent of a UFC fighter's pre-weigh-in routine, but for days or weeks in a row, making it actually a pretty hardcore way to lose some water weight. Now let's move away from the domain of giant Japanese monsters for a second and take a look at one of the most terrifying creatures ever crafted by American cinema. I'm of course talking about the shark from Jaws. Now, part of what makes Jaws so terrifying is the sort of mysterious aura that surrounds the shark. This is due in part to the fact that for most of the movie's runtime, we don't even really see it, which makes when we do, all the more horrific. And that came about not from careful planning by the film's director Steven Spielberg, but rather because of faulty equipment. For the film, a life-size animatronic shark was created, which the crew lovingly named Bruce. When it came time to actually shoot using it, however, the fishy robot malfunctioned, screwing up shots and otherwise just not cooperating. Thinking quickly, Spielberg decided to shoot around the mishaps. Once the shark was fully functional, though, he was used quite effectively during the film's climax, with all the terror of it being further heightened by the fact that we didn't see it until much later in the film, showing us yet again that what you don't see is often more terrifying than what you do. Them was released in 1954 during the height of the whole radioactive mutant monsters era of American horror films, and saw an army of giant ants rampaging through New Mexico. Well, not really an army so much as 3 ants recycled over and over and over. Due to the cost of construction and the whole B-moviness of the production, only 3 ants were constructed for the hero shots and close-ups. And this was not really out of the ordinary at that time. Them was actually quite lucky to even get 3 of its monsters, as many other movies of the era could only afford 1 or 2 of their creatures. Now these days, the ants would more than likely be created with CGI, allowing for more of them to appear on screen at once. And while that doesn't feel as authentic, the cost of creating the creatures is often prohibitively expensive, causing a lot of things to be done digitally. Still though, there's nothing quite like seeing a giant furry ant in all of its glory on set with the actors. That's simply amazing stuff. Now we want to know which movie monster is your absolute favorite. Also, do you prefer American monsters or kaiju? Be sure to let us know in the comments below. And if you're watching this on Facebook, click the link to be taken to our YouTube channel for more videos like this one. And thanks for watching.